All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's get through the disclosure before AVGO earnings hit. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker dealer and member of FINRECIPIC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group, and you should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Position disclosure here, I think isn't. Oh, I didn't add the two that I I am long as new trades today, RGTI and QBTS. Everything else should be the same. All right, we are waiting on, I guess, the last important earnings report. This earnings season seems to never end now. We are waiting on AVGO, which after the Oracle disaster yesterday, the AI space could really use a win here from Broadcom, also known as Avago. If you know, you know. So it should be coming out in 5 seconds. Let's see what happens. Bump, 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 bump. Up. Initial reaction here is up and back down. Huge spread, $5 spread, resolving higher, resolving up. Broadcom sees first quarter revenue. It's a nice beat on first quarter revenue guidance. It's not a great reaction. Um, Fourth quarter, they beat on revenue. They beat on semiconductor solutions. They beat on adjusted EPS. I mean, every number here is solid so far. Every number is solid. Stocks up. Um, Decent now from where it closed. There we go. There we go. We got Costco out. Costco. Nothing much going on there. Looks like up a little bit. We have Lulu out. Lulu's trading pretty well here. Lulu's got a big base in the daily chart. But AVGO here, this is the important one. The AI trade really needed this after Oracle today. What's Nvidia doing on that? Anything? Yeah, Nvidia's trading up. AMD's trading up. SMH is trading up. Qs are trading up pretty nicely. Uh, just add a little bit to my Q short that I already have on here. Which is moving against me. Took a lot of that off into the down move today, though. All right. Broadcom sees momentum continuing in the first quarter. Broadcom dividend is increased by 10% from the prior quarter to 65 cents per share. Broadcom looking good, looking good. Off highs a little bit. Okay. We'll continue to monitor that situation as we move into our normal afternoon meeting here. Spies are up they're up 0.4%, but they're up a lot from where they closed. So the market was up today. Spies finished positive, but not by 0.4%. It was less than that. The Qs have now gone to flat. So Qs were down on the day. I think, and I'm not sure exactly what. I think they were down like 0.3%. So they've traded all the way back to green off the AVGO earnings. And the IWM, no surprise, this is where the continuation occurred. I mean, we were looking at this IWM chart, daily chart after hours yesterday in the afternoon meeting, just looking like how that was a beautiful day one daily chart, full flag breakout, and it looks like it's going to give further continuation, and it certainly did that. So the Russell's up another 1.25% today, new all-time highs. I think it's all-time highs in the S&P today also. Interestingly enough, with all this risk-on sentiment out there, Bitcoin did finish green. They turned this baby around today. They did turn it around. So Bitcoin managed to finish green. Ethereum is still off by 3%, over 3%. Solana still finished red as well. Excuse me. Um, yeah, crypto continues to be not very impressive at all. So let's look at some daily charts. Let's talk about today's price action actually. So day after Fed Day can have a higher probability of being a trend day. Everything else held equal. Obviously, there's other things to factor in. For example, the very, very high gamma level of the market tends to mean that there's a lower probability of a trend day. When you have negative gamma, you get bigger movements, higher probability of trend. Big positive gamma, you get higher probability of a range day. So on the one hand, the day after a Fed day can give you a higher probability of a trend day. On the other hand, the high levels of gamma lead to a lower probability of a trend, but maybe a little bit of a higher probability of a grind up when you consider the other market dynamics that we've been looking at. Coming into today, it was kind of a balance between um, the Fed from yesterday, the hangover from the Fed, which I think means full steam ahead for this market, at least in the short run, versus the Oracle earnings after the close, which dampened the sentiment amongst the AI trade. And like we discussed in the morning meeting today, um, you got to keep in mind these things that impact the AI trade, like AVGO right now, in a positive way. Uh, the AI trade is the entirety of the stock market and the entirety of the economy in the year 2025. I'm pretty sure we would be in a recession in 2025 if it was not for AI. Growth, GDP growth, I think hovers around zero if you take AI out of the equation. Um, and I think I've seen that like 85% of the stock market gains, something like that, are attributable to the AI trade. So everything is off the AI trade. And then you get this kind of big whiff from Oracle last night that sunk the stock down pretty hard and hit down the entire market. Overnight, the Qs in particular, I think, were down 1.5% with the futures at a certain point. By the time we really got our day going and we were doing a morning meeting today, we were down, I think, about 0.4% or so. So it was not nearly as bad. But in the beginning of the day after the open, the Qs were immediately relatively weak. The IWM was relatively strong. And the Qs actually, um, the, uh, fun fact: Oracle's not in the queues. That's interesting. Still, obviously, has a big impact on the Nasdaq because all the other important companies are in the queues. But I didn't know that Oracle itself wasn't in the queues. That's an interesting one. Anyway, so at the open here, we still had that smaller gap down. The market had recovered a bit from the futures lows, but we sold off pretty hard in the beginning of the day. The IWM immediately was showing relative strength. You can look at those first three 5-minute bars from the IWM going directly higher, whereas the Qs took a little bit of like a bearish consolidation right off the open and then really broke lower. And eventually they were bringing the IWM down also. And it was a pretty big hit here in these Qs. And the Qs really got down to the spot that I've been looking at, that I've been discussing. I've been saying for a few days now, since I got back from my trip. I think that small dips in this market are very viable into the end of the year. And I have been really kind of talking about like 618 and the 21 EMA on the daily chart for the Qs as a spot to pay attention to as an area to buy. Similar deal with the spies, that the spies didn't actually get there, the Qs did. And the Qs got into that zone and they got into it with fairly extreme extension of the downside on the 5 minute chart. And when this tail began to come in at 10 a.m., I called out the long off the low, and I think I called it out, long at like 618 versus lows. So you could have gotten that in for very small risk, and the immediate bounce back came in. And I'm going to say the same thing that I always say: uh, get your risk covered, book some profit in the 80 EMA, book some profit in the 21 EMA in that equilibrium zone. But at a certain point on the way up here, I also began to say, as I was looking a bit closer where we were pivoting on the daily chart, keep some. Let's keep some because um, there's a real chance that I think that this might be the low. This pivot low might be the low from now through the end of the year. And if that's correct, obviously you could have a massive risk reward opportunity if you're long the queues for 25 cents worth of risk and you're ending your day $8 or so in the money on the trade, and if you still have it here after hours, you're $10 in the money on the trade. And if the trend were to break out and continue here with the Nasdaq and with the other indexes, I don't think it's impossible to see 640 to 650 by the end of the year. I'm just kind of making that number up a little bit. And, those are the types of risk reward opportunities that should make you drool. They don't come around that often. They're not always super easy to execute, but this is why we want to have game plans in place for reward maximization. And yet, as I say that, I still think that if you sold some stock at 618.50 here on the way up to cover your risk on that buy, that's a great sale. And if you sold some at the 80 EMA because you satisfied the downside extension from the 5 minute chart, it's a great sale. That's part of game planning. That's what you want to do in these situations. But then once the risk is more than fully covered on a counter trend trade like that, especially when we operate from big picture down to small picture, right? The small picture gave us the execution, the big picture told us the reason why we want to buy. Then all of a sudden that's where you can get just tremendous reward opportunities for the risk that you put on. So hopefully some of you guys caught that trade. Hopefully some of you guys are still in that trade, swinging it. And if you are, I certainly hope that you get continuation in this daily chart and you continue to get paid. And I won't be surprised at all if today's low here in the NASDAQ is the low in the NASDAQ from now through the end of the year. If anything, I would almost say it's my expectation, but it's a big call when you still got a few weeks left in the year. So we'll see how that plays out. But overall, after some initial weakness that came in from the Oracle situation, the combination of the Fed, the market dynamics, and everything else took over. The SPY ended up being really strong, fully getting back to yesterday's high and even a little bit above yesterday's high. And the IWM is the real winner. I mean, look at this IWM chart. Beautiful day two continuation on this bull flag. I am not ready to jump in on the other side of this off of the extension yet. It's still too early. It's only 2 days. Um, I probably would want to see like a big day four before I can consider putting a cute short on. I probably wouldn't even short this tomorrow. Um, if we got another percent plus higher in the IWM, outside of maybe like a little day trade, which I did put on a little day trade in the IWM near the close today, by the way, to the short side. Made a couple dollars on it, got out of the way, real small trade. Um, but for anything like a little bit bigger picture than that, I don't even want to be doing it on day three. I want to be doing it on a day four. I just think that this market is too strong into the end of the year. I'm very, very cautious on putting new shorts on. And in fact, I'm thinking about the IWM when I'm like putting this RGTI long on today and the QBTS long on today. And I didn't take it, but I called out the OKLO long for today. I think that these meme type stock should continue to hold a bid through the end of the year. I like these chart patterns that we discussed in the morning meeting that those names are putting on right now. And I just don't think that these are the names that are going to be sold between now and the end of the year. There's not going to be much tax loss harvesting to happen. The names are up huge on the year. I mean, I guess if you're sitting RGTI long for 55, then yeah, maybe you're going to take some off for tax loss harvesting. But I think for the most part, when you look at where some of these stocks have come from, This is not the area that people are going to be selling into the end of the year. So I think we can be long things that are related to the IWM, small caps, medium caps. We can be long meme names. I think generally speaking, I think it can be long the better looking Mag 7 charts. I still like Apple. Google was a favorite of mine. It got hit a little bit today with some of the OpenAI news, but I think that the Google daily chart is actually still very much intact here overall. Um, and yeah, SMR. I like OKLO a little bit better. SMR similar but different, but it's that kind of same pattern of turning up, building up that bullish consolidation and looking to break higher. This one pulled back a little bit too much, and I don't think it bounced up as much enough to begin with. But all those names I think can really kind of continue to go here, and I like the idea of staying long them. Um, with the usual caveats of don't chase price when things get a little bit too silly. Like going back to the idea of chasing price when you're looking at the IWM, I just said I don't have an interest in shorting the IWM tomorrow. It's still too early for me. Show me another percentage up tomorrow and another percentage up on Monday, and then at that point, I would probably consider like a little bit of a more medium term short off the extension in the Russell. I am not in a rush to put on any new shorts here into the end of the year. And I like longs as long as you're not chasing extension. And that's the flip side of this IWM. It's I don't want to short this, but I'm not going to buy it tomorrow and do a gap up either. It's just too much. Uh, from JP Morgan on AVGO, beat handsomely on every metric with strong margins in the quarter and a big beat in revenue guide. Um, driven by a huge 8.2 billion AI semi revenue number with margins holding up despite rack scale worries. Falls at 5 p.m. Yeah, AVGO definitely the one area that I wasn't in a rush to buy as much generally speaking is the Qs and is the AI trade after Oracle yesterday. But we'll see. There's a chance that AVGO here is just alleviating those concerns, and now there's no reason not to buy everything. So, we'll see. I'm sure you can find some dogs if you look hard enough. And and as I say that, like I know Tate mentioned like TTD earlier, and I actually looked at TTD early this morning as well. I don't even remember why. I just typed it up. But Trade Desk made new lows today. There's not a lot of places out there where you can be doing tax loss harvesting this year. And the really beaten up names where you can do that, like a TTD, this is not the stuff that you want to be buying at this point. I wouldn't short it either, honestly. I think TTD is not a bad company. But if you want to be trying to, value buy the trade desk, I think you got to wait to get through the, December tax loss harvesting period here. So that is pretty much all that I got. I don't really have anything else. The Bulls are back, baby. Happy to answer any questions though. Or look at anything that you guys want to look at. T-Mobile announces $14.6 billion shareholder return program. Interesting. It's a pretty gross looking chart. Speaking of, there's got to be some dogs out there somewhere. They down for the year? Yeah, they're negative on the year. T-Mobile. I'm not surprised that if they're running crypto a little bit after hours as well, off AVGO. So I think it just broadly alleviates some of those concerns. Thoughts on the NVIDIA chart? I like NVIDIA long. It's definitely tricky. It's definitely been sloppy, but it held 180 again today. You just got through AVGO in a positive way. The downside tail there, I wouldn't really call that I guess technically it's the shape of a hammer, but it's not. So I don't like candlestick analysis within ranges as a general rule because by definition, when you have a stock that's within a range, it's just a little bit more haphazard in how price action opens and closes. So you can't really do trend analysis because it's a range. And I don't think that candlestick analysis makes sense because, like I just said, things are a little bit more haphazard in terms of how they open and close. But we can't take information in a vacuum. I think that given the general bullishness of this market and the fact that we just got through AVGO here in a positive way, that actually makes me like the idea of being long NVIDIA versus today's low, because today's low, while the support of the range is very sloppy, today's low is within that support zone. And if you're going to get the upside catalyst off AVGO and market continuation into the end of the year, this should be a near term low for NVIDIA, where maybe you can go back after, 190, 195. So I like the idea of being long NVIDIA versus today's low. We can reassess that one in the morning and see how AVGO settles out and how the market settles out. Thanks for the question, Liam. Do I still think Tesla's going to zero? I never thought Tesla was going to zero. I never thought Tesla was going to be a company that goes bankrupt. I just think, um, I think from a valuation perspective, uh, that the company is obscene, which does not mean that it has to go down, right? There's plenty of cases that you can look at in that regard, similar with with like a Palantir. But I don't like the company at all. We just saw a headline come out into the close that Tesla's car sales just revisited a 3-year low. So Tesla's cars, and that's with cheaper models. See if I can find that headline. Pat posted it kind of right into the close. I think there was a little quick tick actually on the 5-minute chart when that came in, which I can't even really see anymore. I don't know. Pat, if you're listening, if you got that headline and you can repost it, you just make my life easier for me. But basically, there was a headline that came out somewhere in the last hour of the day that said that Tesla's car sales in the US are at a 3-year low, and that's despite new. There it is. Thank you, Robert. Tesla US sales dropped to nearly 3-year low in November, despite launch of cheaper Model Y and Model 3 vehicles. So, you know, I don't, I don't know what. I mean, I do, but I don't know what makes this company go up. Um, they're not a car company, right? Obviously, if they're a car company, then they don't belong anywhere near here. I call them a hope and dream company, honestly. You're hoping and dreaming that they become the leader in robotics. You're hoping and dreaming that they do something with AI that emerges with the other companies. That's really what you're hoping for. Um, SpaceX should be IPOing soon. SpaceX is a phenomenal business. It's a phenomenal business. It really is, and there's no denying it. And they basically have a monopoly. I think that they represent 90% of space stuff. Um, but yeah, so it's the robots, it's the robo taxis, it's the the full driving capabilities, but it's the other companies. It's SpaceX, it's potentially some degree of like their AI companies and what they're trying to do there. But those aren't Tesla's businesses, but they're Elon Musk's business. So, the biggest bull case that I can come up with Tesla is that at some point he combines these companies to save Tesla, because Tesla doesn't have a business that justifies this stock trading anywhere even remotely close to where it is currently trading, except hopes and dreams that they become the leader in robo taxis, which they're currently losing on. Hopes and dreams that they become the leader in robots, where they currently have near zero revenue, so it's an open field that anybody can win. And I still think that there's been a tremendous amount of damage that's been done to Elon Musk. I won't buy a Musk product unless I absolutely and utterly have to. I won't do it. I'll go to someone else. I'll buy a different electric vehicle. I'll buy a different robot. But if you're talking about SpaceX, I don't really have a choice. So, it's a hope and a dream company, but that doesn't mean it can't go up. I just made this call a day or two ago. I think that Tesla long through 460 is potentially a spectacular trade. That's just pure technicals. That's just supply and demand within the stock itself. But if they can't actually, I want to say that at some point, somehow, some way, valuations matter. That in the long run, there's a weighing scale, and Tesla's managed to defy that for a really long time. The difference for most, and I was always a Tesla bull for like, not like a crazy bull, like a Kathy Wood style bull, but I was always like, there's clearly growth here. I love what Elon is doing. I love the trajectory of the company. I just find it to be really expensive. Now, I would say I find it to be really expensive and there's no growth here and I don't love the trajectory of the company. That's been the big difference in my thought process on Tesla over the course of the last several years. But again, the stock has continued to hold up and the technicals have to be respected. And 460 is a huge level here. If we can break above that and go, that's what matters. So and it trades well. Yeah, I think it trades really well for me at least intraday. Let me read the commentary here from Jim. In all seriousness, I agree with Derrick on valuation. Despite that, I think it's a great intraday name where you can get swing reward on day trading risk in a single day. Yeah, I agree for sure. You can get huge movements on. I like how Tesla trades as a stock. It's a little bit on the expensive side. I don't normally like $500 stocks, but it's very liquid for a four or $500 stock. It does not typically trade with a very wide spread for a four or $500 stock. Sometimes it's all that matters. Look at Rocket Lab moving with the idea of data centers in space, which is just an idea right now. Yeah, I would argue, and I've been doing this for a while. I want to say 19 times out of 20, when you can get these multi-year moves even sometimes in these names that are just an idea, they typically can't last, or even if they work within the confines of having 85% pullbacks along the way. And you got to keep that in mind with these names. The incredible thing about Tesla is the length of time that it's been able to maintain these multiples of just basically being, what I call a hope and dream company. That's been the incredible thing, and it's especially incredible that's been able to continue to that has continued to happen, even as you've lost a lot of the cult of personality around Musk over the course of the last year or so. Um, I'm not trying to make this a political statement, but as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Tesla vehicles, and we all know that Tesla's not a car company, if you're someone who's on the right, you don't want to buy an electric vehicle, and if you're someone who's on the left, you don't want anything to do with Elon Musk. After he, in my opinion, is basically the number one reason why Trump was able to get elected, or one of five reasons probably. So it's kind of where it's at, but the technicals here overall in Tesla are looking increasingly solid unless it loses 430. If it gets below 430, I've heard some people say 435. 435 is where the 21 EMA is, so that makes a little bit of sense, especially with the pivot low from a couple trading sessions ago. But as long as it continues to hold above that 430, 435, I think it looks good. And honestly, with the general bullishness of everything I was just talking about, with the market into the end of the year, with the fact that I think that meme stocks are going to continue to run into the end of the year, and this is another one that is there's probably not going to be much tax loss harvesting going on in this thing. You could potentially get like a really nice multi-day move through this 460 if it really triggers. So I think it's one to keep it on the radar. Why won't I buy a Tesla? Because I absolutely can't stand Elon Musk. I don't want anything to do with any of his products unless I absolutely have to. From Plasma, artificial intelligence, robo taxis, humanoid robots is not Tesla's business. I mean, how many robots have you seen walking around the street? How many robo taxis have you seen on your roads? I don't know what city you live in. How much artificial intelligence has Tesla produced? There's artificial intelligence in Twitter, but Tesla isn't Twitter. So none of those businesses are businesses, right? There's no revenue from there. They're just ideas. And Elon has a um, Elon has a reputation for missing deadlines. Uh, why do I feel it's relative to trading? I think it's relative to sentiment. It goes back to exactly what I was just saying earlier. Not trying to get political about it, but um, which inherently means probably going to make a more political statement about it. I don't know people on the right that want to buy electric cars, and I don't know people on the left that want anything to do with an Elon Musk product. And before we even get into it, I'm not on the left, by the way. I know it probably occasionally seems that way because I hate tariffs and I hate Elon Musk. But I'm really not I'm not like a heavy leftist individual. I'm genuinely not. Um, but um this guy has just done some things that I really rubbed me the wrong way. And as a result, I have no interest in ever being involved in any of his products. And I think that that sentiment echoes a lot of people, and that impacts obviously the bottom line of the business. Politics is bad business, right? It's just as simple as that. The people that were traditionally buying Tesla vehicles were people who want to save the planet because they believe in climate change and global warming and all that stuff. And those people still probably feel that way about climate change and global warming, and uh, saw what Elon did around the last election and don't want to buy the products. You see it in the numbers. You see it in the European numbers, especially, and you're obviously beginning to see it in the U.S. numbers as well with the data that just got posted earlier. And the European numbers are also absolute and utter dog shit. So, yeah, I'm not gonna make a commentary on whether or not I believe in climate change and global warming because that has nothing to do with trading. But I am gonna say that there are many people out there who seriously believe in climate change and global warming, and they were the traditional buyers of Tesla vehicles, and now they're probably not interested, and that's literally what we see in the numbers. So you've got a company here that is just having more and more competitors and less people that want their products, but the stock goes up, and that's all that matters. And the technicals are bullish, and I'm not afraid to call it a long in a company that I don't like. I'm swinging RGTI and QBTS long. I think that those stocks belong. I'm saying that with air quotes at half the price that they're currently trading at. But I'm long the names tonight, even though they have no product, no revenue. Um, I think that those stocks are going to catch a bid into the end of the year, so I'm not afraid to be long them. And again, Tesla 460 long could be a really solid trade here, and I think you could even front run that trade. I think you could be long Tesla here, but you can't see it get below 430. If it gets below 430, then you have a problem. Um, no problem, Florida Bard. Cool. Uh, what else? What did I miss in here? WBD's moving a bit after hours. Which way? Up a little bit. What did I miss? What did I miss? Scrolling up here in the VTF. NVIDIA we talked about from Emily. Can I take a look at SATS, SATS? Tom Lee says it has an interest in SpaceX. It has an interest in SpaceX? Um, well, they're completely different businesses. Oh, they have an interest in SpaceX. Like they own a piece of SpaceX. I don't know. If so, that's the first I've heard of it. Um, This chart, I think, is run too far at this point in too short of a period of time, and it's too extended. I wish this was on my radar earlier in the day today. I probably would have shorted it. Um, Now I feel like I missed the trade a little bit. It's $5 off highs or so. But today was a day 6 RDR. Um, so upside topping tail, day 6 RDR. The stock is due for a rest, a pullback, a price time correction. So I think you can look for a pullback to the low 90s in this thing. And it would have been a pretty decent trade today to get some on during the day today, I think. And potentially that leads to the next long opportunity, but we don't chase stock, right? We don't chase stock. We don't buy 5 days up. If anything, when you get to 5 days up is when you consider going the other side, and eventually that can create the setup that can lead to the next long. But markets work in periods of expansion and consolidation over time. You want to be involved in the catalyst that creates the expansion. You want to be involved in the breakout that creates the expansion. Um, not chasing after the expansion already occurred. When the expansion already occurred, then you have to wait for the new setup to come in. I think that traders can do a lot of damage to themselves if they are trading after moves occur. You want to anticipate that the move will occur and not react to the fact that the move already did occur. If that makes sense. That was a lesson I learned from a really senior trader when I first started. He said exactly that. Anticipate, don't react. Um, from Dennis. I still think that more of a choppy tape with a more bullish note could also continue to take hold into the end of the year. Do we have any indication of a potential VIX floor? Um, yeah, I mean, look, this VIX could settle down, I think, into low 14s. Could even hit into the 13s. I don't think it's impossible. 1488 here is interesting. They're really crunching this VIX lower, creating that VIX squeeze to the upside for the market. Uh, my comment from Dennis mostly applies to the Nasdaq, etc. IWM 5-year breakout is nothing but mega bullish in 2026. Yeah, we'll see what happens in 2026. I don't see how SATS is a SpaceX proxy. I think that you're looking at different business models. So I don't necessarily agree with Tom Lee on that. What do I think about BE? Let's take a look. It's a little bit sloppy. 120 is an important level for it to get back above. If you can get above 120, it'll start looking good again. Below 120, I think it's a little bit sloppy, and I don't love it. But I like almost anything. I like almost anything long right now. It doesn't look like TTD, so you could try jumping in there. But this will look better if it can kind of recapture these upper one teens through 120. Yeah, some good info there from Peter on the SpaceX idea with SATS. This BLDP is a much cheaper name, but a much better looking chart. I like this kind of round up here. I like what it did today. I like the breaker resistance. Yeah, you and me both, Julski. All right, guys. Anything else? Anybody want to drill me? Anybody want to drill me and try to get a rise out of me further on Tesla? Or are we good on that one for today? Flat Earth thoughts? It's the chemtrails, man. It's the chemtrails. Got to watch out for those chemtrails. All right, we'll wrap it up there. Have a great night, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow, and we'll see how this market opens after